If you are over 60 and your blood pressure has been climbing for 3 years despite doing everything your doctor told you, despite cutting the salt and walking and eating clean, the problem is not what you are putting in your body. The problem is inside the wall of the blood vessel itself. And there is something your grandmother may have known about it that your doctor was never taught. My name is Mama Aisha Diallo. For over 40 years, I have served this community as a master herbalist out of a small clinic in Atlanta. The medicine I practice came from my grandmother in the highlands of the Futa Jalan in Guinea, where the water runs cold and the women live long. In 7 generations of women in my family, I can count on one hand those who passed from a heart event before 80. My grandmother lived to 93, her mother to 98. Her grandmother before, the one our family called Aisata of the high water, passed 100. None of them swallowed a single pill for their blood pressure, and every one of them began the same way every single morning, with a cup of something dark and red that most people in this country have never thought to brew. Today, I'm going to show you what that drink is and exactly how to prepare it, because the brewing method matters more than most people realize. I will show you the single step that destroys the medicine in most people's cups. I will tell you why hibiscus works the way it works inside the blood vessel wall, and I will tell you about the hidden second factor deeper in the body that the tea alone cannot fully address, and what my grandmother would have added to the cup if she had known what the laboratories now know about the gut after 60. Stay with me through all of it. The part most people never hear comes in the second half. If you leave early, you will miss the piece that changes what the drink can actually do. Here is what your doctor sees on the chart: a number that keeps rising, a prescription to bring it down, sometimes 2 prescriptions, sometimes 3. More often now, a 4th medication getting added because the first 3 have stopped being enough. What the chart does not show is what is happening inside the vessel wall itself. After 60, the inner lining of your blood vessels, the layer doctors call the endothelium, loses roughly 30% of its ability to produce nitric oxide, the signal that tells the artery to relax and open. The vessel stiffens, the channel narrows, the pressure rises, and every blood pressure medication ever made manages that rising number, but not one of them rebuilds the lining that generates the signal the artery wall needs to open on its own, so the numbers get managed, but the terrain underneath keeps changing, and here is where it gets worse. At the same time the vessels are stiffening, something is happening lower in the body that most blood pressure videos never connect to the heart at all. After 60, the bacteria living in the gut, the community that regulates inflammation, quiets the slow fire in the body, and shapes how the blood vessel wall responds to stress. Those bacteria thin out by nearly 50%. Half the garden gone. Without that foundation doing its job, the inflammation that hardens artery walls never fully quiets. Not from the medication, not from the clean diet, not from anything the pharmacy aisle was built to offer. 2 things have shifted inside the body at the same time: the vessel wall and the gut underneath it. And for the medicine my grandmother drank to work at the level she needed it to, both of them have to be addressed. I will show you exactly how. But first, the drink. Researchers traveled to West Africa to study why women in the Futa Jalan region had dramatically lower rates of heart disease than women of the same age living in Atlanta or London. They expected to find something complicated. They found a tea. The drink is called bissap in my grandmother's tongue. The Caribbean and Gula teachers I studied under called it sorrel. In Egypt and Sudan, they call it karkad. The whole warm part of this world for over 1,000 years has been drinking the same flower. It is hibiscus, the dried red calyx of the Hibiscus sabdarifa plant. Inside that deep red color is a family of compounds called anthocyanins and a molecule called hibiscus acid. When you drink this tea properly prepared, these compounds enter the bloodstream and reach the endothelium, the inner lining of the artery wall. They support the body's own production of nitric oxide, the very signal the vessel wall has been losing. Think of an old garden hose left too long in the summer sun. Stiff, narrowed, the water barely moving through it. Hibiscus, taken daily over 90 days, is like rain returning to that hose. softening from within, letting the water flow the way it was always meant to flow. A team of researchers studied 65 adults with mildly elevated blood pressure, giving half of them 3 cups of hibiscus tea per day for 6 weeks. By week 6, systolic numbers had dropped by an average of 7 points, diastolic by 3. My grandmother only smiled when I read her that study. She said the laboratory found a way to count what we already watched in the bodies of our mothers and grandmothers. But here is what the study did not measure, and it is the part that changes how this medicine works in most people's homes. The majority of folks who try hibiscus tea get little from it, not because the flower is weak, because the brewing is wrong. A wrong brew destroys the medicine before it ever reaches the blood. So before anything else, let me show you exactly how my grandmother prepared this. You need 3 things to start. First, 2 heaping tablespoons of dried hibiscus calices, the deep red kind sold in the Mexican grocery aisle as Flor de Jamaica or in the African market as bissap. Do not buy hibiscus tea bags from a regular grocery store. Most of those bags have been sitting on a shelf for a year or longer, and the compounds have already weakened considerably. Buy loose dried flowers, fresher, cheaper, and the medicine is still alive in them. Second, a piece of fresh ginger root about the length of your thumb, washed and sliced thin. Do not peel it. The skin holds half the medicine. Third, 3 whole cloves, just 3. Now here is the moment most people destroy the batch without knowing it. Bring 4 cups of pure water to a boil. The moment the water reaches a rolling boil, take it off the heat. This is where the mistake happens. Most people keep it on the burner. Boiling water, sustained, breaks down the anthocyanins. The medicine cooks away in the steam, off the heat immediately. Drop in the hibiscus, the ginger, and the cloves. Cover the pot, let it sit undisturbed for 20 minutes. No stirring, no peeking. The medicine is working in the quiet. Strain it. Drink 1 cup warm the moment you wake, before any food, before anything else enters the body. The empty stomach is a clean room. The blood receives the medicine without competition. Refrigerate the rest. 1 cup at mid-morning, 1 before lunch. 3 cups across the day, giving the blood vessels a steady, consistent signal from morning to noon. No sugar. Sugar dulls the effect on the vessel wall directly. If you cannot drink it plain, half a teaspoon of raw honey added after the tea has cooled to drinking temperature is acceptable. Daily for 90 days. The blood vessels rebuild slowly. They respond to patience, not speed. If you are finding this useful and you are not yet subscribed, do that now. I cover traditional plant medicine for circulation, blood pressure, and gut health every week on this channel. Many of the folks who need this most have written to tell me they thought they were already subscribed and the videos stopped reaching them. 1 tap and you will not miss the next one. Let me tell you about Eleanor. Eleanor is 74, a retired 2nd grade teacher from Savannah, Georgia. She came to me with her systolic running consistently above 150, feet so cold they woke her at 3 in the morning, and a doctor who had just added a 3rd blood pressure medication to her regimen. We kept her prescriptions exactly as her doctor prescribed, but we added 2 things: the BiSap brewed exactly as I described, and a daily gut support I will tell you about in a moment, because Eleanor's numbers were not going to move on the vessel wall alone. By week 12, her morning systolic had come down to 136 on those same medications. Her feet were warm enough to sleep through the night for the first time in 5 years. She told me, "Mama Aisha, I had forgotten what it felt like to wake up rested." I had forgotten that part of myself. What Eleanor had done was address both sides of the problem, the vessel wall with the BiSap and the gut underneath it. Without both, her body would have remained in a state of low-grade inflammation that kept the vessel wall stiff regardless of how perfectly she brewed the tea. This brings me back to what I told you at the beginning, the 50% loss in gut bacteria after 60. This is where it becomes essential. Taking a probiotic alone, the kind sold in most supplement stores, is like planting seeds in dry, dead soil. The seeds cannot take root without prebiotic fiber to feed them. And even with seeds and soil, the garden cannot deliver its harvest without postbiotics, the compounds the bacteria themselves produce and release into the bloodstream, the anti-inflammatory signal that reaches the artery wall and quiets the slow fire that keeps hardening it. Probiotic, prebiotic, postbiotic, all three working as a system. Without all three together, the gut garden stays depleted, and the inflammation that the bicep cannot fully reach continues its work on the vessel wall from the inside. After 40 years of practice, I spent the better part of 3 years looking for something that carried all three in one daily serving because most of my older clients have a complicated relationship with swallowing multiple capsules. I found it in something called BoochBod, a daily gummy that carries the probiotic strains lactospore and postbiotics LM1004, the prebiotic fiber to feed them, and dandelion root. The same dandelion root my own grandmother kept in her clay kitchen in the Futa Jalan Hills. Dandelion supports the liver and bile flow, both critical to how the gut processes and clears the inflammation that the tea alone cannot reach. This is what Eleanor used alongside the BSAP. And this is what I now recommend to every client over 60 who comes to me with the kind of numbers she had. Over 30,000 people are using it. The link is in the description below this video. Speak to your doctor before beginning any supplement, especially if you are on blood pressure medication, and ask them to watch your numbers as you begin. If the numbers change, as they did for Eleanor, your doctor needs to know so they can adjust medication accordingly. 3 habits amplify what the drink and the gut support do together, and they are worth naming simply. The first is a 10-minute walk after each meal. Walk slowly, even around the inside of your home if the weather is hard. The calf muscle, when it contracts, pushes blood back up through the deep veins toward the heart. After 60, this pump weakens, and that is part of why legs go heavy by afternoon and feet go cold before bed. 10 minutes after eating reactivates the pump, lowers the blood sugar response to the meal, and gives the BSAP a moving bloodstream to travel through. The second habit surprised me the first time I learned it from a Caribbean elder: slow-cooked tomato. Cooking releases a compound called lycopene that protects the artery wall from oxidative damage, the gradual rusting that builds plaque across decades. A spoonful of homemade tomato stew or a small bowl of stewed tomato with garlic 3 or 4 times a week gives the vessels armor between doses of the tea. My grandmother would have said this is food and medicine in the same pot. The third habit is a 15-minute warm ginger foot soak in the evening before bed. Slice fresh ginger into a basin of warm water and rest your feet there until the water begins to cool. The ginger draws warmth outward and signals the legs to return the blood that has pooled there across the day. Most of my clients tell me this small practice changed their mornings more than anything else in the first 2 weeks. Warmer feet at night, less stiffness in the ankles when they first stand. Before I give you the master practice, 3 mistakes worth naming so you do not have to learn them the slow way. Mistake 1. Buying hibiscus tea bags from a conventional grocery store and expecting the same medicine as loose dried flowers brewed fresh. The bags are often a year or more on the shelf. Buy the loose flower from a Mexican or African market. Mistake 2. Drinking 1 cup, feeling nothing on day 3, and stopping. The endothelium does not rebuild in a weekend. Give yourself 90 days before you draw any conclusion. The body that is 65 years in the making does not turn around in a week. Mistake 3. Stopping a blood pressure medication on your own because the numbers begin to improve. Do not do this. Work with your doctor. Let them track the changes. Let them make the adjustments. The medicine works. The medication stays in place until a physician decides otherwise. And now we arrive at the piece I have been building toward. The thing that, in 40 years of watching what transforms people and what merely informs them, matters more than any single ingredient. After all the years of practice, all the papers, all the patience, all the mornings of watching people follow protocols and watching other people transcend them, I can tell you the difference between the 2 groups is not in the cup, it is in the receiving. My grandmother drank her BSAP because it was how the morning began, the same way sunlight through the window was how the morning began. She brewed it in the same gesture every dawn for 93 years. She sat with the cup in both hands. She was not multitasking. She was not planning the day. She held the warmth of the cup against her palms and took 3 slow breaths and said a quiet word of thanks before the first sip. Not a performance, a posture. The body settling into the understanding that medicine was coming. Researchers at the University of Wisconsin followed over 1,400 adults for 8 years who practiced what they called mindful eating, bringing deliberate attention to what they were receiving into the body. That group had a 43% lower rate of cardiovascular incidence over 8 years compared to a matched group eating the same foods without that attention. My teachers in the South Carolina Low Country would have nodded slowly at that finding. The body that is hurried cannot receive medicine. The body that is still can. So here is the master practice. Every morning before the first cup of bissap, sit 2 minutes. Hold the cup in both hands. Let the warmth come through the ceramic into your palms. Take 3 slow breaths. Speak a small word of thanks, silently or aloud, for the cup, for the water, for the body that has carried you all this way and is still here to receive what you are bringing it. Then drink slowly, the way you would drink the first rain after a long dry season. The medicine is in the flower, but it becomes yours in the receiving. My children, what we have spoken about today is not really about a tea. It is about the mornings you have not yet walked through, the grandchildren you have not yet held, the phone calls you still want to be fully present for 10 years from now. The body at 70 can heal. The body at 75 can heal. The body at 80, my grandmother proved to me again and again, can still surprise you. The arteries that have been stiffening for 40 years can soften. Slowly, meaningfully, with patience and the right tools, they can soften. Begin tomorrow morning. The bissap brewed off the boil with ginger and 3 cloves, the 10-minute walk, the warm cup held in 2 hands before the first sip. And for the gut foundation underneath it all, the terrain that makes everything else land the way it is meant to land, BoochBod is in the description below this video. It comes with a 60-day guarantee. If you do not feel a difference, you pay nothing. That link is there whenever you are ready. If you want the next teaching in this series, subscribe so it finds you. Until the next time we sit together, walk warm, drink slow, and take care of the body that has carried you all this way. I love you, Mama Aisha.